Survivor returns tonight with a new group of castaways competing in Earth's last Eden, Gabon, Africa. And who better to tell us about the upcoming season than Emmy Award-winning host Jeff Probst. Jeff, good to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you here. Now, much has been made about shooting this season in high definition. I'm wondering about your thoughts about high definition, whether it's going to breathe some new life into the show.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. And I'm an HD fan. I've watched programs in HD, but when we were on location and on the second day watched some footage, I was blown away. It's a brand new show. If you're an HD fan, Survivor's worth checking out just for the HD, and if you're a Survivor fan, it's worth getting an HD set for the experience because you see so much more detail.
We actually had somebody here at the station that did buy an HD set just because Survivor's now in HD.
Oh, I love that.
Well, how does being back in Africa fit in this season, considering the wildlife and the landscape?
Yeah, this was really remote. This is the most remote place we've been to, and that's one of the reasons we picked it. It also made for an extremely difficult shoot from a production point of view. The survivors never know the difference of whether we're having a good time or not, but it plays in that it's epic, the landscape. It's just these great savannas, these tall grasses. Mm-hmm. You really don't know that you're in Africa until you start seeing the wildlife. And I think that backdrop had an impact because at night you have these survivors going to bed or going to sleep. They didn't have a bed, but you'd hear sounds in the jungle. You'd hear branches crashing and breaking, and you didn't know whether it was an elephant or a gorilla or what it was, and it always made it unpredictable and I think a little scary.
Wow, something lurking in the dark.
Yes.
Well, last season we had several cast members that left the show due to an injury or they just gave up. Were there any precautions taken this season to make sure that didn't happen again?
Last year we did lose a few people, and a couple to injury and one to just mental breakdown. There's nothing we can do. We talked about it. We talked to our doctors again, and we reviewed everything from last year. We couldn't have done anything differently. James and Jonathan had to leave the game. They were in a life-threatening situation. Nothing we could do. It was just a weird combination of circumstances. So we didn't do anything differently this year, but we did have a big group of wildlife rangers that were on call to make sure that we controlled the wildlife, So when an elephant would come into Survivor's camp, there would be wildlife crew close by if something were to happen that they could try and go in and help out.
Well, let's talk about the cast real quick. What's your first impression of some of the cast members this season?
We have a lot of individuals this time. Every group kind of has its own personality, and this would be a lot of individuals. And we have a video gamer, this young kid who's a world champion video gamer. We have, at the opposite end of the spectrum, the oldest guy is this guy Bob from Maine, who they call Mr. Wizard because he can build and fix anything. And I think people are going to really root for him because he earns it out there. And then we have some younger people, Maddie, Marcus, a doctor from Atlanta, who not only do women fall for, but one of the guys, we have a gay guy on the show, and he gets all over Marcus, and Marcus has to say, I'm flattered, I'm straight. And meanwhile, there's a woman going, oh, good, because I'm interested too. So we have a little of that going on, and we have a nice theme of good versus bad that kind of develops.
Hey, before I let you go, though, I want to ask you if there's ever been any discussion about shooting a season of Survivor in the U.S., maybe, Survivor Great Smoky Mountains.
Not really, because we feel that part of the show is the location and the exotic remote location that you might not have ever seen, and you might learn something from the culture. And so we probably won't ever shoot in the U.S. Never say never, but I think Mark Burnett believes that a big part of the show is going somewhere big.
All right, Jeff, thanks for talking with us today. We look forward to another exciting season of Survivor.
Thanks for having me on.